I'm Christabel.
And I'm Amanda.
And we are
messy and we mean it.
Wow, it's been how many episodes?
5. I think we're the 5th episode in now.
Oh,
halfway through. No, more than halfway through.
More than halfway through.
So we're here.
I hope you guys have been enjoying it so far. But today's topic though, I would say that, okay, get cozy because this topic is going to be, I would say a little heavy, but it's something that we want to unpack. Right?
And I think it's actually quite relatable to a lot of people in our generation, especially because, I don't know, it's been talked about quite a bit on social media now. We're going to be talking about generational trauma. And yeah, but before we get into that, Belle, how was it like growing up for you?
Growing up, I led quite a sheltered life. I lived in a very, very religious and very disciplined household. And my parents were, they're wonderful lah. I mean, they're very strict. It was tough because they are strict. But I would always be reminded of how much they love me and my brother. So that's why when I heard the word generational trauma, I had to actually Google what it meant.
Yeah.
And I came up with this question. It's like, what is your trauma?
Yeah.
If I asked you to name your trauma, could you list out?
I don't know if I could name it like that per se. It's something that I'm still actually processing actually. And yeah, I don't know if I could like name my trauma and point out my trauma like that. But yeah, I mean, when we kind of, were getting into this topic, it was very refreshing for me that you did not know what generational trauma was, because almost everyone that I know has experienced some form of generational trauma. So that's really nice. And we had a conversation about that, which we'll talk about later. Right? But yeah, my childhood was, I mean, my parents love me. I think we don't have to, that goes without saying. But it was very chaotic and volatile for me, for lack of better words. Yeah. Yeah. I think I grew up in a very Asian family. I think that's very common in Asian families, actually. Yeah. But my family was not Asian in the very traditional sense. They have very Asian values, but very Western practices, if that makes sense.
Like my household.
Yeah. Like, Asian values, like, okay, I think I kind of listed it out here, like, not talking about things and kind of living in denial. I think that is quite an Asian family trait, right? We don't address things. We kind of just sweep it under the carpet. Or like sun preference. That is quite a big one.
Sun preference.
Yeah, that is quite a big one. Sun preference. Parents not apologizing. I think that is something that we talked about.
Yes.
But also there's the really beautiful flip side to it, which is also very Asian, which is like buying food and fruits for you. That is the Asian parents' love language.
Cutting fruits for you.
Cutting fruits for
making
you.
sure that
buying
they have
fruits
dinner
for you.
together as a family.
Oh, here's my favorite. Criticizing your appearance.
Oh, wow. Okay, this one I've got, but I wouldn't say that it's traumatic. But yes, all the time as I was
That's
growing
what
up.
you think though. That's what you think though.
I guess. But, there was this one time, this was fairly recent or so. And mind you, I have grown, like I am past my 30s. And coming out and hearing my mom say on the phone to the aunties when they were like, hey, your daughter is growing up well, she looks so pretty. And then my mom would go, no lah, she where got pretty. No lah.
I think that's a very Asian family thing.
Yes.
Like Asians are taught or trained not to accept compliments, right? We have to like, oh no lah.
Yeah. And then my daughter, not very skinny.
Yeah.
There are a lot of other girls that look better. The face shape, this.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like there will never ever be thank you.
Yeah. It took me so long to accept a compliment and say thank you. And just leave it at that. You don't have to justify it. You don't have to like, no lah, I mean, it is what it is, And that's why I said, that's what you think that there was not much trauma there, right? But which brings me to the question, what do you do when someone compliments you?
Okay, so for this, I find it very hard to say thank you. I think it's something that we have to learn, but I find it, I just like shrug when people say like, give me compliments. No, you
Why?
know when you give me compliments, I'll be like,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
I'll just laugh it off or change the topic.
And her favorite is pointing out her flaws. She'll walk into a room, and I have another girlfriend like this, right? She'll walk into a room like, oh, my skin is so bad today. And I'm like, I was not even looking at your skin. Like, you know, so I think there is a little bit of trauma trickled down there. Yeah. That is, you know, it's generational, it's passed down. But yeah, I mean, how about you? You know, what is your experience of it?
For me, I felt that my family was a good mix of like maybe traumatic moments, but they would be able to like reel it back, if that makes sense. So let's say if my parents will argue, you know, it gets really heated, or if I argue with my parents when I was little, then after that, there'll be a cooling off period, and then they will remind us that we are loved, home is safe, and they wouldn't want the trauma from the previous generation to carry on towards our generation.
Wow.
My parents have always reminded us that they wanted our lives to be different.
Right.
They wanted our lives to be healthy, to be different, to always remember that home is a safe space. And when all else fails, you know, when it's terrible in the outside world, you can come home and your parents will be here for you. Yeah. So,
I think that's really beautiful. It's quite clear that your parents were the cycle breakers.
yes.
You know, and like you guys, I mean, as far as I know you, you are like your soul is really bright. You know, you have a very happy soul, which is very nice to be around. Yeah. Yeah, that's.
But
really
I
enjoy
believe that it takes a conscious choice for my parents to want to break the cycle. And it seems like the cycle breaker in your generation, I mean, in your family, is you.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, which we're gonna we're gonna get to in a bit. But I think other forms of like Asian parenting. Okay, let's talk about that, right? Which is also, I mean, I see other friends having to deal with these issues as well, like filial piety. You know, there's so much weight on their shoulders. I think I'm quite lucky that my parents don't put that weight on me.
Yep.
But I have seen that happen with my friends before, and it's
Definitely.
a lot. It's a lot to deal with. You know.
Like parents telling you exactly how much you need to give them a month.
Yeah.
Parents telling you that they require this and that from you now that you're 20, you know, and things like that.
And having all these expectations and, you know, feeling entitled to certain things.
Yes.
Which is a lot. It's a lot for a child to carry, especially in today's world, you know?
Yeah. But I think it makes it even harder when you compare your parents to someone else's parents. I think a lot of people do that. And if you're in a shitty situation, it makes you feel a lot worse. Now, I think number one, I feel like what I'll tell my friends, I'll be like, okay, you know, but hey, you know, your parents also do this. Or maybe they're behaving like that because of this other issue.
No, definitely. It all stems from somewhere.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
Yeah.
And maybe they're just not comfortable with unpacking that.
I don't even think they're not comfortable with unpacking that. Honestly, a lot of the times they just don't know. They just don't know. I mean, it took me almost 30 years or more than 30 years to realize that, hey, this is generational. You know, this is something that is a pattern and a habit in my family, and it needs to stop with me, or else my child is going to be very much affected by it. And I was not okay with that. I'm really not okay with that. Yeah. But on the flip side, you know, there's a lot of beautiful things growing up in an Asian family, you know. It's not all like craziness like that. One of the things that I really love about growing up in an Asian family, you know, when I lived in America, I really noticed that stark contrast is how family-oriented that we are.
Yes.
You know, how family-oriented we are. How, I don't know, family means a lot to us lah.
Yes.
You know, and
I think above it all, that was really instilled in us.
From a young age.
From a young age. And we would want it to be passed down to like our kids and things like that. And I think that one thing that always brings us all together is food.
Yeah.
And like having meals together, having your 家传菜, which is your like, you know, that one dish that only your grandma cooks that's perfect and it's not the same anywhere else. You know, those kind of dishes that you miss home for.
And the Italians also are quite similar. They're very family oriented. They love gathering around the dining table, in the kitchen, and that's where people really bond. And different cultures, we deal with things differently. But and I really, really appreciate how family oriented Asian people are.
But I feel that it also highlights to us that it's something that we want to carry down. So we ourselves now are the people that can break the cycle. We are the people that can just carry on the different traditions in the family. And if not, it will just be lost here. Like, it will be just gone.
Yeah. I think as, the world progresses and it's becoming more modern, I mean, there are certain traditions that we would still like to keep. I mean, getting together with family, it's always a beautiful thing, But obviously, there are some things that we can also leave behind.
Yes.
And this topic is actually very close to my heart. I feel like I'm offering myself here by talking about this, because I don't really talk about it a lot. I don't even talk about it to my close friends, especially growing up, because there was a lot of shame around it. I felt a lot of shame coming from that kind of background. My household was chaotic, and no one wants to admit that their childhood was difficult. So this is really me pouring my heart out here. And I'm not here to cast blame or point fingers towards anyone. It's more understanding how I came to be, what and how I became this way, and how I can progress, and what kind of person I do eventually want to be, right?
I think it's also quite a liberating feeling to be here where you are after conquering it all, and also after knowing that it does get better.
Yeah.
And seeing your relationships, your parents. Like, I was staying with Amanda this morning, and it was nice.
Yeah.
And I think you have definitely found a lot of comfort knowing that, hey, the worst has passed, and actually the relationships do mend and do get better.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's still definitely a work in progress, but it's something that I definitely want to work on. It's not something that I want to let go. It's no one's fault. It just is what it is. They don't know. They don't know this stuff. So generational trauma is basically just trauma that's passed on from generation to generation. And it can come up in the form of, say, anxiety, depression, self-esteem issues, and even self-destructive behavior, all of which I can relate to.
But let's just talk about fights. I would say that it's a common topic nowadays that I hear, especially when we see this happening online, young parents fighting, and there's a baby there. Or, for us growing up, just seeing our parents get into really huge arguments. And as a kid, you are probably scared, right? But you don't know what to do. All you do is cry. And I'm sure that you have gone through that as well. And it does cause trauma within us. Though I say that I don't feel like I have generational trauma. But I have gone through that. And I feel that it has translated to the way I argue with my partner. I get really obsessive with trying to prove my point. I spam, if I'm not together with him, I would just write out my points in this huge essay.
Justify.
And justify yourself. And you try to put a point across, when on hindsight, you realize that the best way is to take a step back, to calm down for a little, and then talk about it in person. I feel like I learned a lot of these bad habits from family. Not to blame them, but more of you unknowingly you just unknowingly take on these bad habits. And you don't know, but it just became part of you. And I think the worst thing that anybody can say in an argument is that you are just like your parents, or we are just like our parents. And it really hit me one time when I was arguing that, hey, this is not the way that I want to resolve my conflicts. We don't want to be like that.
I mean, how we resolve conflict, I think it's something that's learned, right? And it is actually such an important skill. But we are not taught that. We just model it after what we see. I definitely did not have the best examples of how to deal with conflict. And I'm still reeling from it. With arguments with my husband, I still have to take a step back and be like, yo, you crossed the line there, But I've seen that many, many times. I've seen the line cross over and over and over again, So for me, it didn't almost become normalized. It was normalized.
Do you see any patterns like between the way you argue and the way your parents argue?
100%. So I've had to do a lot of deprogramming and like unlearning along the way. Yeah, I'm still doing it. It's not hard because it's your it's almost a first instinct. It's your first reaction, to kind of get defensive, or like point fingers. No, it's not me, or just very, very
and you don't know it,
traits. Yeah,
you don't notice it at all.
It's very, very toxic. Very, very toxic traits. Yeah. I mean, I remember like growing up, there were a lot of moments when my parents were arguing or something, and I felt very, very unsafe.
Yes.
Emotionally and mentally. And there was no one that I could really talk about it with. I think I was provided for, taken care of in the best way possible.
Yeah.
But mentally and emotionally, a lot were lacking. And it took a huge toll on me, yeah.
How about like grandparents? Were they around?
Yes, my grandparents were around, but you see, like, my grandparents don't speak English. They only speak Hokkien or like Cantonese, right? And there was always that large language barrier. My father's side, my paternal grandmother, she passed away when I was younger. But as for my maternal grandparents, they were with me until my late teens, my early 20s. And I was actually very close to them. They were love. Like, oh my God, my heart, like they're inside my heart, right? But there was always that huge language barrier. So we speak to each other in Malay.
Oh.
Because that's the only like common language that we have, right? But even our Malay language skills are not that great. But okay.
Were they there to like cushion any of these arguments? Because I'm speaking from the point of view.
You live with your grandmom.
Correct.
Yeah.
So I felt how my trauma was cushioned, or rather just not as bad, because every time, let's say my parents would argue when I was a child, my grandma was just swoop in, take me like just to the room, hug me and be like, hey, let's do something, She spoke Chinese, but I think above it all, I have a very close relationship with my papa. And I think many people online who have been following me for years know exactly how close I am to her. And it's also because of such moments where she's just always my safe space. And she's always around to help out and because we didn't grow up very affluent, My parents had to work really hard. They're always away. We stayed with my grandmother for a good part of my life. And it was just fun, like having your grandma there with you all the time. Having your grandma there as like your protector. No?
I didn't live with my grandparents. So it was very like, every time I meet them, it's like a lot of love, a lot of love, a lot of love. Yeah. But I would go home to my reality. Yes. That was my reality. And
so there was a stark difference in comparison with how you felt.
Like, and I always felt like I had to kind of put a mask on. Like, I think innately because I see it in my son. I see a lot of myself in my son. My son is a happy boy.
Yes.
And I see that spark and I can relate to that, and he's also a sensitive soul. But growing up after experiencing, that trauma, I think it definitely dimmed my light quite a bit. And no one to talk about it with, and it's shameful. No one wants to go out and be like, oh, this is, this is
what's
how
happening
I feel.
At home,
Yeah, And I don't know. It was very, very different. When I go out, I try to be happy and like try to put my best foot forward. But my home life was very lonely. Like I felt like there was nobody to protect me. I felt like there was nobody that I could confide in. When I did bring up issues, a lot of the times it was like dismissed or it was dismissed.
Oh.
Yeah, by the people who were supposed to protect me. So in a lot of ways, that became my norm.
What do you say changed that? Like, was there a turning point where everything got better?
Well, obviously, as I grew older, it's really, really complicated. I don't want to say because of age it changed, but circumstances also change within the family. Dynamics change within the family. So it definitely did get better. I think my parents also mellowed out a lot with age. But there's still a lot of like remnants of that. And I feel like in a lot of ways, my parents still cannot see that I've grown up. They still see me in that frame. Yeah, in that frame. And I feel like it's so hard to break out of, even though I am not the same person that I was 14, 15 years old. You know, yeah, I was rebellious. I was, you know, going through my thing, but I had to figure it out. I had to figure out the person that I was going to become. You know, I was becoming my own person. And I felt like I was not given that space. And I think that's why I rebel a lot. And that's why I kind of, in their words, their favorite words were, you're very rebellious. You're very, very difficult. And that's the one word that I will not use on my child, difficult. I just think that if anything, he's probably just going through a really difficult time.
Yes.
Like hormones or like, okay, even as a baby, you know, like all these feelings inside, very, very big feelings, very big. I know it's very gentle parenting, right? Very gentle parenting now. But it is true. You know, imagine you have all these energy and all these like pent up emotions and you don't know how to express it. So you just go hammer, you just go haywire, you know, you throw things around. But if you have someone to tell you like to be there and guide you in a way that like, hey, I know this is what's happening, but let's channel it, you know, a way that's like more healthy and more conducive for everybody. I think, I mean, I love my parents to death, like that goes without saying. But I also believe that they had their own shit going on.
Yes.
You know, they had a lot of stuff going on and they just didn't know how to deal with me.
Would you say that you, from your heart, you have forgiven them?
That's not even a question. I think I obviously went through periods of being very angry. But I think underlying of all the anger was a lot of hurt and sadness of not being heard and not being seen, you know. But I'm doing a lot of the work now on my own and I'm validating myself. I like if I get validation from them, that's great. But I'm trying so hard not to get that external validation and just get it for myself.
If you had something to say to 14, 15-year-old Amanda, what will it be?
Oh my God.
If you I'll give you a moment, but what would you say to, I would say 14, 15-year-old Amanda who's probably going through all this right now, coming home to just feeling the same way over and over?
Oof. Oh, I would tell her like, you would be proud of yourself. Yeah. Because it is a lot, you know, like to grow up like that for like 30 years and to finally come to the realization that this was not normal. Yeah. And doing the work and putting in the work, not just for myself, but like for my future generations. I really see that as a gift. You know, this is the best thing that I can do for my ancestral line. And I know if it were up to my parents, I wouldn't be talking about this, right? Asian values. But I think it's so important because I know I'm not the only person going through this. It comes in many other forms, right? I don't know what you are dealing with, but it's not easy. And every day you have to put in the work. You have to tell yourself that. It's so easy to fall back because it's habit, it's habitual.
Yes.
But you have to tell yourself that.
If you were to break the cycle, this is the work that you have to put in.
Yeah. And every day, it will go up and down. It will never be a whole, like a linear thing, you know? But you have to believe in yourself and trust the process. Yeah. Because I believe that this is part of my journey. This is one thing that I don't really tell people. But when I was young, I used to ask myself, why am I born? Why am I on this earth? Right? And I found my answer. Like, I think I'm here to be a gift to my family. Yeah. And I hope one day they can see that, you know? Because like I said, in my parents' mind, I'm still like that 14, 15-year-old, but I'm not. You know, I have grown into the person that I want to grow to, I want to become. And I think they should get to know me better now as a 33-year-old, and I'm not the same person that I was at 14. And about forgiving whatever has happened, it's not even a question of forgiving because
it's family.
Not even because it's family. I don't believe in the blood is thicker than water thing.
Yeah.
Because I believe that some family members can be toxic.
Yeah.
But for me, it was my parents, they don't even know. Our family does not even know, right? Why? The only reason why I'm sitting here is because I was born in the 90s and the internet came up and we have all these access to information at my fingertips. That's the advantage that I have over them. And with all this knowledge, you know, I want to do better. And it's not a matter of forgiving. I came to a place of acceptance first. And now it's more letting go. It's not even forgiving anymore. You know, there's nothing to forgive. Yeah. Like I will never hold it against them. Because I know that they love me in other ways that I cannot even express.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very beautiful that you can see all these.
Yeah. Oh, it took me a long way to get here to even like verbalize it. And I don't think I'm even verbalizing it that well. Yeah, like it's been a whole roller coaster of emotions, but you have to accept it, take it as it comes, and really, you know, yeah, see the beauty in it. Yes, and see the beauty in it. There is beauty in it. But yeah, I mean, so this is a very, very heavy topic today.
But I hope that if you're listening in, you know, and listening to Amanda's story, if you're going through the same thing, I would say that it does get better, you know, and also while being more mindful and aware, I think it will all make us feel a little less hurt.
Yeah.
Sad.
Yeah.
But everything is a process, you know, so just 加油啦.
Yeah. The one thing I tell myself is like hurt people. So like don't take it personally. Most of the time it's really not about you, even though it might be directed at you.
So remember just now when I was talking about habits that I have formed unknowingly growing up with watching my parents like fight? I feel that it's been such a tough journey for me unlearning that. You know, growing up, my parents fought so badly. And I went to school sometimes with like really red eyes. And people ask me what happened. I'm like, oh yeah, my parents fight. And they're like, oh, okay. But how bad did they fight though? But nobody ever asked that. I couldn't even talk about it. And it was bad. I remember as a kid, like before my brother was born, they fought so much, you know, and on hindsight now, I understand it's because of so much stresses. You know, we're living with my grandparents. My parents were working really hard, probably really stressed. Plus, I was a kid, probably like 4 or 5 then, or maybe 6, I can't remember. But I just remember clearly just the screaming and just the fights. And leading on to me in adulthood, I felt that my relationships early on was just simply like that. And I was okay with that. I was okay if my partner was like hot-tempered. I was okay with, you know, just watching the fights unfold the same way my parents' fights did, if that made sense. And I think this also made me stay in really toxic relationships for a longer period of time. Though it's probably better on hindsight to cut it earlier. I just stayed because I think like, oh yeah, it's okay, you know, just work through it and things like that. And it really took me a lot of heartache and a lot of trauma in order to learn how to just break out the entire cycle.
So how did you get to that point?
I would say that, okay, we're just going on to relationships now, but
Not the relationship part, but how did you get to the point where you didn't want to repeat those patterns?
I think it wasn't up till my current relationship that me and my partner really sat down and be like, hey, you know, what are the habits that your parents have that you don't want to bring forth to our relationship? What habits my parents had that he didn't want our relationship to have? You know, so I think it was a very conscious choice of how we wanted to improve the relationship. Doesn't mean that it's easy though. You know, sometimes you are angry, you get heated, you fight, you say things that you don't mean, and it's just a current like work in progress. Like we have to keep telling ourselves, no, we don't want to be like that, you know. And both our parents are very different. So my partner's parents are more like the quiet sort. See, don't talk about like, you know, arguments. You know, they are very cordial, but it makes like sometimes I feel like when there's really heated arguments, you kind of let everything out and you talk about things that are weighing your heart down. My parents, on the other hand, are just like explosive, you know, and things like that. So I guess we just wanted the best part of both in our relationship, and we're still working on it, you know. And I think it'll probably be like a forever work in progress. But I think it just changed when I met John.
That's nice. I mean, I think having a different perspective definitely helps, you know. For me, that's basically how it happened as well. Yeah. When I really gained a lot of distance from the situation, and when I realized that this is not a normal family dynamic, that really, really opened my eyes. And because I had quite a distance from the situation, I could start trusting myself again and trusting my gut feeling, something that was kind of dismissed ever since I was young, you know. Because I'm a very sensitive person and my body tells me things.
Yes.
Like your gut tells you things, your heart tells you things. But ever since I was young, I was told, nah, you're too sensitive, like, you know, or sometimes even the problem is you, which is so hurtful, right? Especially as a child, like,
and you were
no one
forced
wants
to
to
just
hear that.
Dim that.
Yeah, and it changes
voice.
you. Yeah, dim that voice, and it changes you as a person. And it has manifested into something very dangerous as an adult because I cannot make decisions. I cannot make simple decisions like, what color do you like? What color do you want this in? And I get so insecure about those decisions. Like choosing our artwork. I get so insecure about those decisions. But I want to make decisions with conviction and be so sure of it. I mean, but also not going into like stubborn, you know, that's, I don't want to be stubborn about my decision, but I want to be sure of it. Yeah. And that is something that I am still learning and telling myself, you got this, like trust yourself. You know, even if it's not the right decision, you learn from it. And that was something I was not given the grace or space to do as a kid. Like if I made a mistake, oh my God, like I would get scolding or I would feel the brunt of it. And it was just scary. It was scary making mistakes. But I think now I'm allowing myself to do that, which is really, really nice.
You have really put in a lot of work. And I'm so proud of you.
Thank you. Thank you. Like I know it's so funny, but like deciding on a color or deciding what to eat. How can I second guess myself? It's my body, right? I should be able to be like, nah, this is what I want to eat. But no, I have to ask, what are you eating? Yeah. You know, and it's things like that I don't know. I wish I didn't even have to ask that.
Yeah. There's little things that you notice about yourself.
Yeah.
That now you want to unlearn.
Yeah.
Shall we?
Yes.
Go into the messier part of the episode?
Yes. As if that wasn't messy enough. Okay.
Okay, another messy part of the episode. So we have come to the messy mail of episode 5. Would you want to read it or should I read it?
Okay, you can read it.
Okay. Ready? Dear Amanda and Christabel, I, 22 female, moved too fast into the relationship, ended up living with my boyfriend, and it's not going great. So here's the mess. Do you want to read the mess?
Okay.
Okay.
I'm a college student dating an older guy. We met through a dating app and ended up staying together at his place a year into the relationship. He started getting very possessive, insecure, and controlling in my everyday choices and lifestyle. I'm usually very outspoken and firm on my decisions to break up or move out. But all of that changed and I became very timid and felt very trapped. I did bring up moving out or breaking up a few times, but he kept me in physically,
Oh,
emotionally, and mentally. At times even threatened to kill himself. So I didn't dare to bring it up anymore. What's worse is that I pay for 90% of our living expenses, food, and bills.
dude, what's he doing?
I'm starting to get depressed from all of this. I haven't been seeing my friends for months because of how occupied I am with my boyfriend. I'm just faking it at this point, planning my exit strategy, and I don't even know what to do.
Okay, I think the main thing is that it's a good thing that you're planning your exit strategy. The only next thing is to execute it. Correct?
Yeah.
But this
has like red flags all over. Girl, like
you pay
you
for
need to
90% of the living bills.
And he's abusing you. He's like
no, I think
physically
that
abusing
part
you.
where she said that he's keeping me in physically, as in what does he do? He just
doesn't let you leave?
He holds you back, blocks the door.
Sounds like
That's
it.
like abuse.
Yeah.
Wow. Emotionally and mentally. And he's probably like saying things too.
I mean, and he even threatened
down.
to kill himself. That's like emotional blackmail. I mean, this has like red flags all over.
I'm sure you already know that, but
Yeah.
the main thing is that it's really hard to leave. And I believe that a lot of people are actually in the same situation. You know, we
Yeah.
hear like our girlfriends talk to us about it sometimes. And I understand that's hard because number one, he's physically like blocking you.
Yeah.
And number two,
It's always easier said than done,
yeah,
isn't
and
it?
they always go on and tell you how privileged you are to have them in your life.
Yeah.
You
And they
know?
love bomb you.
Yes.
They love bomb
And they'll
you.
be like, I loved you so much. How can you do this to me? You know, I've been here for you. You're staying in my house, you know?
I think the one thing that really, really stood out to me here is the fact that I'm usually very outspoken and firm on my decision, but all of that changed and you became very timid. I mean, the fact that you know what kind of person you are and you change after that, that is a huge sign that this person is not right for you. If anything, this person is very, very toxic for you. Your partner should never do that to you, should never dim your light, you know? If anything, your partner should bring out the best in you. And this is just a complete, no, it's like, it's unacceptable.
But I would say that the best way to work around this is to reach out to several close friends. And if you do want to exit, try to find a day where someone else is with you in the apartment. You know, so you're not alone. And I understand how hard it might be because he probably wouldn't allow your friends to come over. I mean, he doesn't even want you to meet most of them. But if you have the chance, that would definitely make things a lot better.
Have other people around.
Did.
Have other people around when you plan to move out and like make all your plans, you know, plan everything first and then get your friends to come over and help you. You need someone else there or people there physically to like make sure that you are okay and that you're safe and this guy doesn't ever do that to you ever again. Yeah. I mean, I'm so sorry you're going through this. This is horrible. Unfortunately, it is not uncommon. I'm just glad that you realize it now and you're not in too deep, you know?
Hang in there. I look forward to your update.
Yeah. Let
in
us
our
know
messy
how
mail,
it goes.
after you have conquered it all. And I feel like you are close to the end.
Yeah.
Like the light is at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah, and one more thing, this guy is older, right? So, I mean, it's the power dynamics is off, you know, like, yeah, if you're a college student dating an older guy, the power dynamics is completely off. So please get out as soon as you can. Like, don't stall it any longer. Yeah.
I just wanted to thank you for sharing. I know it's really hard. And I wish you all the best. I'm sure you got this. Remember to always be safe. You know, if you are moving out of the place, get someone to come with you. And it's already a step forward because you're already planning your exit strategy. And
even if it's not friends, get family.
Yes.
Or like, worst come to worst, get like the security guard from the condo to help you, you know? Someone else to be physically there to just make sure you are safe in that sense. Yeah.
it's tough, but I'm sure that you have the courage to leave and to move on and to heal, I would say, because I'm sure that's not easy and our hearts are with you.
Yeah.
But thank you for sharing. Do drop us another messy mail to let us know how you are doing. And yeah. So I guess that brings us to the end of this episode. Thank you guys for watching.
Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. You know, I hope that you guys got to take away something from this, or even feel like it's something that you can relate to. Follow us on our social media channels.
Yeah. It is MommyPod, MAWMIPOD. Or just leave us a comment if you're watching on YouTube on the takeaway table. We'd love to hear your thoughts and what you want us to talk about. But that's the end of episode 5. I hope you guys have been enjoying the season so far. And we'll see you in the next one.
Bye.